The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. In Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, he referred to this book. It was written in 1948. And I read it because I thought there's got to be some significance to what a person believes in and the results that they create. And there really is. A few months ago, I made a video on the power of the subconscious mind and how we can actually systematically program our subconscious mind to create results in our life that we desire, and how the conscious mind is not as powerful as the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is a database of tons of information and reference experiences that we've had in our life. And the conscious mind is really a tool that we could use to direct the energy of our subconscious mind. And if we operate from that perspective, we can increase the results that we can have in our life. And, this ties into the discussions on the power of now by Eckhart Tolle, and how a lot of us identify with the mind and we think we are the mind, but rather the mind is a tool that we control. And the conscious mind is the tool, and we can program the conscious mind with belief systems, which get then impressed into the subconscious mind, which gives us access to all this power that's contained within ourselves. And to take it a step further, from spiritual texts, and Napoleon Hill talks about this in Think and Grow Rich, it's the subconscious mind that's connected to the infinite intelligence, the super mind. Now, beliefs are something that people hold very close to their heart. Essentially, beliefs are a person's modus operandi. However, it's beliefs that result in failure in a person's life, and beliefs that impress itself on the subconscious mind that can get people to accept failure as the norm. They'll just accept it without really recognizing that their belief systems a lot of times come from external sources. It's not really who they are. It's based on environment, negative situations, certain kinds of information that's fed to them through TV and certain kinds of sources that doesn't always have their best intentions in mind. And at a certain point, we get an inclination that maybe we can change our belief systems. And then, interestingly enough, you attract a video like this or a book like this that discusses where beliefs come from and how to adjust them, and to help you recognize that you have control as to what you believe. And for maybe a lot of times in your life, you've accepted beliefs as they came to you, not realizing that it had a profound impact on your subconscious mind. It changed the very actions and thus created the results that you have in your life. And if they're not favorable, then you can probably reverse engineer and track it back to your belief systems. Okay, thoughts, which come from the conscious mind, can create beliefs, a powerful feeling, belief systems even, that impress itself on the subconscious mind, which get you to automatically do things, and then from a spiritual perspective, connect to the subconscious, not subconscious, but the superconscious, or the higher faculties, spiritual realms, and so forth. So in order to gain control over the realization that you can create your own belief systems, you must first believe that's possible. You must have an open mind. And the best way to have an open mind is to understand this quote right here by Marcus Aurelius. Consider that everything is opinion, and opinion is in thy power. When you're communicating with people, and for most of us, we spend a large percentage of our time communicating with people, we have to recognize that they are influencing us. Whenever somebody communicates with you, they're influencing you. Now, they may be conscious of this, or they may not be conscious of this, but the reality is that they are influencing you. And if you keep an open mind blindly, you might accept what they say and their ideologies and their beliefs as fact and it could change the course of your life. It could either hold you back or it could move you forward. However, if you look at what everyone says as opinion, and you're interested in learning about their opinions from the perspective of you want to know how they got to where they are right now, not because necessarily you want to know how to get where they are, but because you're fascinated by people. And not necessarily because you want to be where they are, but because you're fascinated with the process of how people get to where they are. If you can get fascinated by that, then something really powerful happens within you. You become more opening and accepting to others, and you're less likely to be influenced because you're not looking to others to see what to believe in, but rather you're looking to see how to create your own belief systems by looking at where a person has gotten to in their lives and recognizing that a large part of it was their belief systems, and then picking and choosing how to incorporate those specific belief systems into your ideology. You're able to construct your belief systems like an architect. Charms, amulets, and talismans have no power in themselves, but those who believe in them firmly and unquestionably tend to develop the kind of force or power known as psychokinetic. For example, a cracked or broken mirror isn't going to bring you bad luck unless you believe it. But as long as you believe belief is fertilized, nurtured, and made a part of your inner self, believe it or not, it is going to bring you bad luck because the subconscious mind always brings to reality what is led to believe. So superstitious thinking can be superstitious for positivity or superstitious for negativity. So if you have superstitious for positivity, chances are you're going to probably increase the likelihood of success. And I'm not saying that you should do that. We need to understand that we live in objective reality, and there are laws in physical reality. At the same time, we also have to recognize that they do, in fact, program the subconscious mind. Beliefs are what program the subconscious mind. So we have to gauge ourselves whenever somebody shares an idea with us, whether it's empowering or disempowering, and we have the choice to reject disempowering information. Let me interpose a word of caution. This experiment, as well as others outlined in this book, should never be attempted in the presence of scoffers or those who profess disbelief in psychic phenomena. Their negative thoughts may confuse and obstruct the free flow of your own, especially if their skepticism is aggressive. Essentially what this means, and going back to the main point here, that consider everything is opinion, is that if your self-esteem and your self-confidence is not at a high level, you're going to accept what people say as fact rather than checking to see if it aligns with what you want. You're constantly, when you're at a high level of self-esteem, you're constantly evaluating, and it's happening really fast. You can feel it. You can feel when somebody's communicating something and it doesn't gel with you. And if you recognize that the subconscious mind accepts things as fact, you might not want to be in that situation. You could remove yourself out of that situation. Now, on the flip side, you can feel it when somebody is talking about something that's in alignment with what you want. And then you can open up to it. Not blindly again, but evaluating, looking at what they say, looking at the results that they have, figuring out how they put the words together, the vibe and energy of the communication and so forth, before you start to explore the possibility of incorporating that belief system as part of your own. This is a more conscious way of living. This requires a higher level of awareness. Yes, it does. It requires you to be more present. It requires you to be more self-reflective. And I think one of the reasons why people have a hard time with this is because every day they allow way too much information to get placed into their mind. They have no direction as to exactly what they want, and then they're not filtering the information based on the 80-20 principle, as in Pareto principle. 20% of the information is going to produce 80% of the results, and a lot of information is noise and some of it is signal. They're not placing themselves in an environment that filters out the noise. They're not communicating with people or consuming information where they're getting a highly concentrated, valuable information that's specifically designed for their outcome, a lot of different things. And because of that, they're overwhelmed. And when someone's overwhelmed, it's hard to maintain a high level of awareness as to how the information is persuading you. And remember I said this before, everyone that's communicating to you is persuading you. And you have to be present to each communication that you have with a person, whether it's a video or a book or a live in-person or a Skype chat or phone call, it doesn't matter, text message, you have to be present to see how that information is shaping your beliefs. And you can choose to reject it or not. So that's why I'm a huge fan of just minimizing distraction. You're not minimizing distraction necessarily just for the clarity and peace. You're minimizing distraction so that you can be more present and aware. So when that information does come to you, you can make a conscious effort as to the short-term and long-term implications of how it affects your belief systems. The act of believing is the starting force, the generating power that leads to accomplishment. So beliefs drive you to take action. I must point out, though, that it's easy to lose one's belief or faith. Thousands have risen to great heights of success only to stumble and fall to undreamed of deaths. Others seeking health have appeared to be more or less miraculously cured, only to find that their ailments recur years or even months later. There are many weakening factors and influences, all suggestive in nature, which in unguarded moments we allow to slip into our subconscious mind. Once there, they will begin their destructive work and undo our good constructive forces accomplished. So, you can work really hard to create amazing belief systems and then find yourself in certain environments or consuming certain information that will go in and rewrite that code you put into your brain. And then, as a result of that, you'll find your behaviors change, your actions change, and then you're thrown off course. So again, it's very important to be aware of the kind of information that you're taking into your mind, your conscious mind, and you're allowing it into your subconscious mind through your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is the gatekeeper. Okay, you can choose what information you take in. Belief changes the tempo of the mind or thought frequency. Like a huge magnet, it draws the subconscious forces into play, changing your whole aura and affecting everything about you, including people and objects at great distances. It often brings into your individual sphere of life results that are sometimes startling, results you never dreamed possible. To be able to tap into the ability to draw certain objects and people into reality from great distances requires a certain level of clarity and specificity. You have to know exactly what you want. The clearer you are, the higher the concentrate of impression it has in your subconscious mind to tap into these abundant faculties. We're going to talk about conscious mind and subconscious mind in a moment, to go to work to draw in like the most amazing ways. Because remember, the conscious mind has a certain level of intelligence. The subconscious mind has an amazing level of intelligence. Subconscious mind is responsible for healing in your body. It's responsible for certain creative hunches and inspirations and amazing powers that you never even thought you had. And Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich. It's connected to the infinite intelligence, the universal intelligence in which all the subconscious minds of all humans are connected. And you have access to all that. But in order to tap into that high level of access, you must remove and filter out the distortion. Anything that breaks the connection, you must remove. Most sustained and continuing manifestations come as a result of deep-seated belief. Through this belief, with its strange power, miracles happen, and peculiar phenomena occur for which there appears to be no known explanation. Let's look at the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is the source of thought. Also, it gives us a sense of awareness in our normal waking life. The acknowledge that we are ourselves here and now. the knowledge that we are ourselves here and now, the recognition and understanding of our environment, the power to rule over our mental faculties, to recall the events of our past life, and to comprehend our emotions and their significance. More concretely, it enables us to have a rational understanding of the objects and the persons about us, or our own successes or shortcomings, of the validity of an argument, or the beauty of a work of art. Essentially, it's a gatekeeper. And it's the conscious mind where we apply critical thinking. We look at a situation, we say, we choose to accept this as a belief system, and we choose to not accept this as a belief system, and here are the reasons why. And for a lot of us, we go about our days allowing far too much stimulus, information to get into our brain, either through media, TV, disempowering books, people that are negative. We allow that information to go into our brain. We consciously allow it, not even really understanding the impact that it has on the subconscious. Now, keep into consideration that if you allow negativity to get into your life, disempowering thoughts, disempowering belief systems, you allow it consciously to get into your life, even though you might not say you do, there's a part of you that does. That's actually from your subconscious. So at some point you programmed your subconscious to say, I want more negativity. And thus, you're constantly putting yourself in situations where you attract negativity. One of the things that I love to do, as I mentioned earlier, is to figure out how people got to where they are, whether it's a high level of success, low level of success, no success, it doesn't matter. I want to know how people got to where they are. And in their choice of words and how they carry themselves and the things that they talk about, there's a lot of revelation. And people are always telling you about yourself. So people are revealing to you the things that you can do or the things you should not do, provided you don't want to have the same results as them, which might not be the results you want. So the world can give you information, tons of information. Reality gives you tons of information. And what it's really doing is it's reflecting back to you your internal state. It's telling you who you are. The entire external is telling you who you are. Because it's not the circumstance, but how you respond to it that gives you the greatest amount of information. Rejection, for example, in sales, those that are at a high level of success in sales don't see rejection. They don't have the same beliefs about rejection as the ones that are not as successful. The ones that are not as successful might look at rejection as a blow to their ego or something that essentially prevents them from taking the next opportunity. Someone who is empowered by success might look at rejection as a way to optimize, as an indicator to optimize. They begin to go and work on their sales script, for example, or they look at their positioning. Maybe they're not offering the right product or service to the right audience or so forth. Or they might look at it and say, now that I've got rejected from this person, I can move on to make my offer to the next person. So there's different ways of looking at things. One is going to produce the results that you want, and one is going to remove you away from the results you want. So it's really how you respond to circumstances that reveals your thoughts and your belief systems. And it's revealed in your conscious mind when you catch yourself on that moment of your reaction. And then you study the thought process that's attached to it. I realize it's difficult for the average person who knows nothing of this subject to accept the idea that all is within. But even as far as the most materialistic person is concerned, nothing exists from them unless they have knowledge of it or unless it becomes fixed in their consciousness. The images created in their mind give reality to the world outside of them. Therefore, happiness, sought by many and found by few, is a matter entirely within ourselves. Your environment and the everyday happenings of life have absolutely no effect on your happiness except as you permit mental images of the outside to enter your consciousness. Happiness is wholly independent of position, wealth, or material possessions. It is a state of mind which we our cells have the power to control, and that control lies with our thinking. So thoughts are an aspect of the conscious mind. They're the revelation of our belief systems. They tell us where we are right now and where we're going. So we really have to understand them. Thought is the original source of all wealth, all success, all material gain, and great discoveries and inventions, and of all achievement. Without it, there would be no medicine, no great museums, no great plays or novels, no modern conveniences. In fact, there would be no advance over life in the most primitive ages. So we need thought. The key is to have clear thought, specific thought, thought that's designed to A, program our subconscious mind or direct our attention towards a worthwhile ideal. Therefore, it is vital that you know exactly what you want out of life. You must know where you are headed and keep a fixed goal in view. That, of course, is the overall picture. It makes no difference whether you want a job or a better one, a new house, a place in the country, or just a new pair of shoes. You must have a fixed idea before you'll obtain what you are after. You see, when you have the thought of what you want and you keep it in your mind and you visualize it, you impress the subconscious mind. That's how you communicate to the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind then goes to work to give you hunches, inspirations, automatic behaviors, and so forth, and draw the parallel to create that reality if you only hold it long enough, but more importantly, you have the belief that it's going to happen. If you don't have the belief, then you're essentially impressing on your subconscious mind that on the surface you want this thing, but you don't really believe it's yours, thus I don't want to receive it. Okay, so you must have a thought of what you want and know exactly what you want and be specific, plus the belief that you are going to have it with time. The subconscious mind comes to the aid of those in the habit of making quick decisions almost instantaneously, and it comes into operation when you have cleared your conscious mind of its multitude of conflicting thoughts. So in a way, you could say the subconscious mind is testing you to see if you have faith. In other words, when the subconscious mind gives you a hunch and inspiration, you act upon it, you affirm faith, you affirm belief, which amplifies the effect and then gets your subconscious mind to work more efficiently, more faster. Desire for something new, something different that is going to change your life makes you exert an extra effort. Okay, so when you have a desire, this is a conscious thought. The desire is the emotion that's associated with the thought, impresses itself on the subconscious mind, which then gets you to move forward, to take action. It's not enough to just simply consciously want something and say you want it and then not have a desire. You must learn how to create the desire. And desire is created through repetition. We'll talk about this later. What might appear as coincidences are not coincidences at all, but simply the working out of the pattern which you started with your own weaving. So essentially, once you have an idea of what you want and you hold it in your mind, you must look at reality as a litmus test. Everyone is teaching you how to get there, even if they're not directly talking about it. And then what you do is you gauge yourself as you navigate day to day, and you say, everything has meaning. Everything has deeply reflect upon meaning, which is telling me about myself and if I'm moving in the right direction or not. Because everything you're doing right now is either moving you forward or is moving you backwards. There's alternatives to what you're doing right now. You could do what you're doing right now more efficiently at a deeper, higher level. And all this is data that can be gathered that is essentially coordinated or compassed through the specific goal. Once you have a specific goal, you can work with a compass, an internal compass that tells you if you're moving towards it or not. Living here in the hills away from people and everyday influences, I have often felt that those who live close to nature were in a much better position to utilize the subconscious than others. Now, why did he say this? One of the things I've recognized is I travel and I'll go to Mexico, and I've been in different places in the world where there wasn't a lot of people around. I was surrounded by nature. And right now I'm living in downtown Toronto, and I'm going to switch that around. The thing that I found is that when there's environments where there's a lot of stimulus, a lot of people, a lot of noise, it doesn't always facilitate the clearest of thinking. and you have to work through removing the distractions and so forth to really tap into what your subconscious mind is telling to do. Then, when you're in environments where there's like hardly anyone around, there's a lot of nature, there isn't a lot of noise. I mean, the nature's noise, but it isn't a lot of opinions of others and energy from people and so forth. And your subconscious mind, you're able to tap into it more directly. And the hunches and inspirations seem a lot clearer. Compare your mind to a tank filled to the brim with clear, pure water. You cannot put any object into the tank without displacing some of the water and causing the tank to overflow. When you permit negative thoughts of doubt or fear to enter your consciousness, obviously some of your forceful and positive creative thoughts will have to give way, and consequently you weaken your positive state. Thus, as long as you do not accept unfavorable vibrations, your subconscious mind will not be hindered by anything you may hear, see, or experience. So you have 24 hours in a day. And essentially what you do in those 24 hours is programming your subconscious mind. The kind of music you listen to, the people that you talk to, the actions that you take, the environments that you're in, the books that you read, the different kind of things that you experience every day are programming your subconscious mind. And thus, you can ensure that predominant positive thoughts are programming your subconscious mind. And if possible, all positive thoughts are programming your subconscious mind. This doesn't mean you're indifferent and you're ignoring, but rather you're accepting that different realities exist, but you're going to focus on what you have control over. And you're going to empower yourself to focus on what you have control over by feeding yourself with information that is going to allow you to have passion for what you have control over and consistently keep doing what you have control over. And if you do this, there's no room for negativity to enter your mind. And then as you're doing this, you're conscious and you're aware as you go about your day. And if you find that there's places where negativity enters your mind, you just systematically remove those things out of your awareness, whether it's negativity from certain websites, social media, and so forth. You just remove it because it no longer serves you. Now let's talk about the subconscious mind. We recognize that the conscious mind, and specifically thoughts, are what create impressions when mixed with belief and desire, and impress itself on the subconscious mind to tap into the subconscious powers, both positive and negative. Let's talk about how the subconscious mind works. Just as the conscious mind is the source of thought, so is the subconscious the source of power. Rooted in instinct, it is aware of the individual's most elemental desires, and it is always pressing upward into conscious existence. It is a repository of spontaneous impressions of man and nature, and a memory vault in which are kept the records of facts and experiences sent down to it from time to time by the conscious mind for safekeeping and future use. So the subconscious mind gets programmed through life experience. In earlier stages in life, we're very reactive. We just trust everyone blindly. And as a result, our subconscious mind gets programmed with a lot of things that don't serve us once we discover what we really want to do with our lives. And a lot of times that information in our subconscious mind holds us back. And then we have to go through a process where we're reprogramming our subconscious mind, hence the process we're going to talk about in this video, as well as being conscious of the different sources of information that is programming our subconscious mind and systematically remove that. And then what happens is those experiences overwrite the old ones. So we rewrite the old stories. And there's a lot of things you can do, meditation, different kinds of processes. And depending on the severity of negativity that was placed in your head in earlier stages, it might require a lot of work. But it can be done. And there's a lot of things that we can do that we don't do, and there's a lot of room for improvement. So it's very important that we take this stuff very seriously, because predominantly most of our life is governed by how we think in our subconscious mind. There's things beyond our control that we don't have control over, freaks of nature and things like that. Things happen. However, there's a lot of things we have control over, and we have to first realize we have control over. And second, we then have to get really serious about this stuff and ensure that we're not further programming our subconscious mind with negativity. Every student of this subject knows what may be accomplished by getting into direct contact with the subconscious mind. Thousands have employed it to achieve wealth, power, and fame in this world, as well as to cure physical ailments and solve countless human problems. And its power is there for you to use. The only steps you have to take are to believe in its power and then use the techniques set forth in this book, or else devise a system of your own that will put it to work for you. So number one, you must first believe that it's possible. And that should be the first belief you start with using the systems in this book. Because when you first believe, you open up the connection between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind is then going to go show you ways as to how to further emphasize that belief. And the more you program that belief, the more you'll see the results in your life, which is going to get you even more excited. And then you're going to go and further program the belief, and it ends up being this self-fulfilling prophecy of positivity. The subconscious mind is beyond space and time and is fundamentally a powerful sending and receiving station with a universal hookup. It can communicate with physical, mental, psychic, and according to many investigations, spiritual worlds. So there's a lot to the subconscious mind. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, in The Sixth Sense, The Temple to Door of Wisdom, talks about how the subconscious mind is connected to infinite intelligence, essentially the universal mind of God. We won't really experience these things unless we make a conscious effort to reprogram our subconscious mind and instill empowering beliefs in ourselves and the possibility that it is possible. When we start doing that, we start tapping into higher faculties of power. And we're able to channel those energies towards creating concrete results in this world. Always remember that the subconscious mind, besides being the seat of intuition, is a repository of great power and inexhaustible resources. The more you call upon these resources, the more are placed at your disposal. Also remember, the subconscious is ageless. It can never grow old or tired, and you can draw upon it all your life. The only thing you need is the power of believing sincerely, strongly, and completely. Once the subconscious receives your message and understands your desires and ambitions, it will only be a short time before your desire will be fulfilled and your ambition received. So there are three primary functions of your subconscious mind, according to this book. Intuitive understanding of the bodily needs. It maintains and preserves the well-being and indeed the very life of the physical body. So subconscious mind is responsible for healing wounds and a lot of these things that you wouldn't consciously know what to do. So that can give you right there a level of insight as to how powerful the subconscious mind is, which we have access to. Number two, in times of great emergency, it springs into immediate action, again, independently of the conscious mind, and takes supreme command, acting with incredible certitude, rapidity, accuracy, and understanding. If you find yourself in flow state or in situations where your life is in danger, car accidents, a lot of people notice this, including myself. I've been in a car accident where I noticed everything went really slow. This is your subconscious mind creating a heightened self-awareness, a heightened level of awareness, which you're tapping into in that moment, which is causing you to interpret reality as moving really slow, but it's just that you're getting really efficient with the time space, and that comes as a result of the subconscious mind. And we can tap into this ability. We have it within us. It is operative in the psychic world. The psychic powers of the subconscious are manifested in such phenomena as telepathy, clairvoyance, and psychokinesis. But also, it can be summoned to help the conscious mind in time of great personal necessity, when the conscious calls upon the subconscious to use its powers and resources to solve a vital problem, to bring to pass whatever the individual seeks or desires. So let's talk about how to program the subconscious mind, because I had a really good technique. Okay, so underlining all the techniques for a subconscious mind, you'll find a commonality, and that's repetition and suggestion. Okay, suggestion and repetition. There is dormant in each human being a faculty, whether developed or not, which will enable that particular individual to succeed if the desire for success is present in his conscious mind. So you must have the desire, which is the suggestion. Men and women are strong personal magnetism, and great orators can get the same emotional effect without props or stage settings to aid them. They're talking about influence here. So I always recommend Everybody study power and influence to learn how to have power and influence over yourself. If you really want to learn how to program your subconscious mind, then you must understand the elements of persuasion. You must read books like Influence, Psychology, Persuasion. You have to understand what you're influenced by and the mechanics that govern influence. Because from that place, you'll be able to work with yourself and reprogram and influence yourself into the direction that you want. Communication is a big part of this. Okay, we're talking about here personal magnetism. A great book to read is The Charisma Myth. I did a video on it. And power, presence, and warmth being the three elements of charismatics. They are masters of tone effects, emotional appeal, bodily movements, eye magnetism, by which your attention is held and you yourself are thrown wide open to their driving appeal. So being around people that have the ability, who have developed a high level of charisma, plus have belief systems that can be transferred to you because they're very persuasive and they know how to persuade you, can be really powerful in your transformation. These are people that have learned the different elements and dynamics, and this is something that I strive to do in my videos, is I'm not interested in giving information for theoretical reasons. I'm interested in presenting information in a way that creates behavioral change. So throughout the process, I've learned the different elements to make it possible. Now, if you learn these elements, you can learn how to apply, for example, the mirror technique to influence yourself. And if you're a leader of organizations, if you have a business and you have staff and so forth, and you just are stepping into a position of leadership, then understand something, that essentially good leaders know how to work with the subconscious mind of others. Not from a manipulative perspective, but rather one that's in alignment of mutual benefit. So repetition. Repetition is one of the important aspects of programming the subconscious mind. Through repetition, the person with a fixed goal, a clear picture of their desire or ideal always before them, causes it to be buried deep in their subconscious mind. And thus, thanks to its generative and sustaining power, realizes their goal in a minimum of time with a minimum of effort. Just pursue the thought unceasingly, step by step, you will achieve realization, for all your faculties and powers become directed to that end. In all religions, cults, and orders, there is an obvious prescribed ritual in which the repetition of words, mystical or otherwise, plays an important part. And this brings us to the law of suggestion. Forces operating within its limits are capable of producing phenomenal results. That is, the power of suggestion, either autosuggestion, which is your own to yourself, or heterosuggestion, coming to you from outside sources, starts the machinery into operation, causing the subconscious mind to begin its creative work. And right here is where the affirmations, repetitions play their part. So essentially, if you look at all certain kinds of organizations that have people that have followers who essentially believe a certain way, you'll notice a similarity, a commonality of repetition. So understanding that the repetition creates a predominant reality. Like if you're constantly repeating the idea of the burning desire, the goal you want to achieve, and you're constantly visualizing, your subconscious mind sees that as the predominant reality, and it's essentially shaping your world externally to mirror that reality. Strange as it may sound, we usually get what we anticipate. And if you anticipate increasing your sales and believe that you're going to do it, your sales will mount just as though some invisible friend were helping out. The idea of anticipation holds in everything we do. So alongside of the repetition, we must anticipate. Repetition of some chant, the same incantations, the same affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. So if you have a hard time creating the desire, the burning desire, then understand that repetition creates it. And I know this for myself because I would always set goals, and I've been following the Think and Grow Rich process of autosuggestion now for more than 10 years. And all throughout different stages of my life, I've used the process. When I started using the process, I found myself not really having the burning desire for the thing that I was trying to create in my life. But I noticed that by repeating it over and over and over again, it's almost like my subconscious mind decided to accept that as the reality, and then I became passionate for it. So you can actually create desire through repeating the same affirmation over and over again. It'll eventually turn into desire. Look at those that get indoctrinated in certain kinds of religions or cults and things like that. In the starting, they might not be excited about it, but as time goes on, through the repetition of the certain processes that they go through, they become passionate about it. And that's a very important, powerful tool to creating more depth of impact in the subconscious mind. Again, we see the terrific force of thought repetition. It is our master, and we do as we are ordered. The subtle force of the repeated suggestion overcomes our reason, acting directly on our emotions and our feelings, finally penetrating to the very depths of our subconscious mind. This is the basic principle of all successful advertising, and continued and repeated suggestion that first makes you believe, after which you are eager to buy. So many people become confused and frustrated because they let themselves be influenced by others' negative thoughts. This is a weakness of many salesmen when they absorb too much of what the prospect says about his reasons for not buying. Repetition of negative thoughts, if continued long enough, will discourage even the most powerful. Unless your mind is closed against them and you counteract them by constantly thinking and radiating positive thoughts, sooner or later you'll find yourself sunk. So in the starting of this journey, if you're in the early stages of it, you start implementing positive thinking. Remember that if negative thinking was your predominant state, your subconscious mind is going to draw more things into your parallel that reinforce that negative thinking. It could be family, situations, certain kinds of information. I used to have a desire to watch certain kinds of movies that had a lot of negative thinking in it when my thinking was predominantly negative. Then as I went to work with this material and consciously made an effort to reprogram my subconscious mind, I found myself not interested in those kind of movies anymore. I would try to sit down and watch them because I remember they once were very entertaining, and I would try to watch them again. Didn't really want to watch it. I found myself gravitating to watching videos like Bob Proctor and this kind of information. I spend so much time studying this kind of information that's actually all I really am interested in doing. All I'm really interested in right now is studying human potential, studying how the business elements work, the businesses I choose. It's just a repetition of doing it over and over again that has gotten my subconscious mind so fascinated with these subjects that it's manifested in me automatically doing certain things and avoiding certain things. So this happens with repetition. Some people wear themselves out by trying to combat negative forces by superhuman effort and sheer willpower, never realizing that their own minds operating in accordance with the suggestive influences are causing all the trouble. So some people might watch a lot of negativity on television and listen to negative music and so forth, and they wonder why they keep having negative experiences in their lives. Those negative bits of information are going into their subconscious mind and drawing into their existence the parallel. When we recognize this, that the repetition of this kind of information causes this, we can start the process to heal ourselves from a subconscious level, which is really what we want to do. Whether we know it or not, we are all victims of suggestion. In many cases, most to the point of being hypnotized. We follow along a beaten path of living just because we've been doing it for decades. So an interesting thing I want to point out is that I love meeting people. And I love figuring out how people got to where they are. And I also mentioned earlier that people are unconsciously persuading you. So there are some people that are just so set in their ways and their results are not favorable. It's not what they want in life. But they're so attached to their belief systems as to how reality works that I can have certain levels of conversations with them, but I can't go any deeper with them. Like I cannot talk about this kind of material here because it would trigger all kinds of defenses, and then they will start to it'll just turn into a really tense conversation, and I will find myself getting very reactive and things like that. So when we're connecting with people, we're dealing with people, understand that people are at different levels. And just some people spend a lot of time in environments where they're being programmed by what's on TV and advertising and so forth. And they're just, most of their lives is a byproduct of that kind of advertising. And deep down inside, they know that they're not happy. But it's really hard for them to recognize this. And if you learn this kind of information, trying to convince someone and bring them all the way to these kind of things we're talking about is way too jarring for the senses. So you'll know when you're communicating with people what level that they're at. You'll usually find that those at a really high level are very conscious of the words that they choose and how they interact with you and the people around them. You'll find them to be very calm, very present, and really aware. They don't take things personally. As I mentioned earlier in the quote, things are opinions to them, and they choose what to believe in. The mirror technique. So this is one of the techniques that you could use to program your subconscious mind. I've been working with it, learned it from this book, and I find it to be very powerful for many reasons. Many great orators, preachers, actors, and statesmen have used the mirror technique. According to Drew Pearson, Winston Churchill never made a speech of importance unless he made it before a mirror first. Pearson also declared that Woodrow Wilson employed the same technique. It's what I call a supercharging method for stepping up the speaker's subconscious forces so that when he or she appears before an audience, those forces flow out also and affect the listeners. By using the mirror in rehearsing the speech as you are going to deliver it, you are creating a picture of yourself, your words, the sound of your voice, and your sight of the audience to which the immediate future is to bring reality. By looking into the mirror, you increase the mental vibrations by which the force and meaning of your words will quickly penetrate your audience's subconscious mind. And you're further reinforcing this. So with the mirror technique, essentially, you're going to be looking in the mirror and affirming to yourself what it is you desire. And you're going to look yourself in the eye. You can do what I do with this, a modification. You can look yourself in the eye and you can observe to see if there's any doubts in your communication. And then you're going to adjust your voice tonality, your body language, and the look in your eyes to that of belief, to that of congruence. And when your subconscious mind picks up on an image, it's kind of like a visualization, an image of yourself communicating and affirming as if the thing that you're affirming is fact, it will go to act upon that information as true. It'll turn to belief in the subconscious mind, and it will manifest faster in your actions, in whatever else the subconscious mind works with to produce results. Let's look at the technique and outline. Stand in front of the mirror. It need not be full length, but it should be large enough so that you can see your body from the waist up. Now breathe deeply 3 to 4 times until you feel a sense of power, strength, and determination. I also recommend the 3 elements of charisma: power, presence, and warmth. You need to have presence, you need to have warmth. You can't be forceful, but you've got to be specific. There's a balance, and it takes some time to work with this, but you get better at it. Next, look into the very depths of your eyes. Tell yourself that you are going to get what you want. Name it aloud so you can see your lips move and hear your words uttered. Now I want to put more emphasis on the eyes. Much has been written about the power of eyes. The eyes are said to be the window of the soul. They reveal your thoughts. If your eyes reveal your thoughts and you become really present, you will begin to see even the slight flinch of doubt on your autosuggestions, on your affirmations. And that's going to be an indication as to what you are programming in your subconscious mind. If you say something with repetition to your subconscious mind, but you're projecting doubt, then your subconscious mind takes it as is, as doubt of possibly achieving what it is that you say you want. So what we want to do is you want to remove the doubt. And when you can look at yourself in the eyes, you can see when you're projecting the doubt. And then you can say, I'm going to adjust that thing, and you could do it repetition. And then eventually you'll be able to communicate in a way where your eyes do not have the doubt. And your subconscious mind, because you're mirroring, you'll see it. You see yourself communicating that way. Your subconscious mind gets imprinted with what it is you're suggesting, the auto-suggestion, with congruence, with belief, and will thus reflect accordingly. You will find, however, that once you start the mirror practice, your eyes will take on a power that you never realized you could develop. So essentially, part of what you're doing in this process is you're developing the ability to persuade not only yourself, but persuade others. You're becoming more charismatic through this exercise. This will give you the penetrating gaze that makes others think you're looking into their very souls. Sooner or later, you will will come in intensity to bespeak the intensity of your thought, which people will begin to recognize. So maybe in the first few times you do this, you don't like looking at yourself. Well, that's an indication of low self-esteem and low self-confidence. It's then an opportunity to work on it. All the more reason to do it. And the consistency and the persistent application of this process and the constant tweaking and analyzing to raise your awareness of the nuances of what you are projecting outwards and then modifying those aspects are going to transform your self-image. And when you see yourself communicating a certain way and a certain look in your eyes and you're essentially mirroring yourself and that's going into your subconscious mind now believes that that is who you are and that's who you're going to carry yourself as going forth. Make it a regular ritual of it. Practice doing it at least twice a day, morning and evenings, and you'll be surprised at the results. Now, this is something that I've worked with and I find to be very useful, and I'm going to incorporate in my process of autosuggestion going forth, and I recommend that you do so also. The revealing nature of your thoughts. So your thoughts reveal to you where you are right now. The world and people are revealing to you about yourself. One of the issues that we have is we're constantly looking to see flaws in other people and we want to talk about the flaws in the other person. Failing to recognize that when you see flaws in the person, they're actually revealing to you flaws within yourself. And if you were to start looking at the world and everything externally as a teacher to you, you would have a greater sense of appreciation for people and yourself. It also demonstrates to you that you really value yourself. You're really dedicated to making every moment of your life count. So, when you have thoughts about what it is that you experience in the external world, let it be your greatest teacher as to what to do next, what kind of autosuggestions to apply, what you need to work on next. Take the initiative. Always try to do something for the other fellow, and you'll be agreeably surprised how things come your way, how many pleasant things are done for you. How you treat others is a reflection of how you treat yourself. Those that are in denial will constantly attack others because they refuse to look within themselves. And they'll never get the results. They'll never be happy until they turn around and say, I'm the cause for this, and I'm going to work on myself. Then when they start to do that, they actually authentically treat others with unconditional love and respect. And people, because most people in this world are reactive, when they get treated authentically good, they mirror it back to you, which amplifies the power of your desires. Because a lot of times, people are going to help you achieve the desires that you want. You're going to be working with others to create the results. And you can't really work with others if there's hostility. But if there's mutual care and respect, and you go first because you're the leader, then the other person will follow, and they will also grow as a result of it. This brings me to another point. A person who desires riches must go where riches are. So out of all the environments that you could place yourself in, it's always good to place yourself in environments that are more in alignment with your desires. Unless you have the self-confidence and self-esteem and powerful command of the subconscious mind of, like, let's say a Buddha or something like that, it's going to be challenging to place yourself in an environment that's very negative and transform that negativity into positivity. Remember I said people are reactive. Well, if you have a high level of self-confidence, like it's really high, people are going to be reactive to you. But if your self-confidence is low, you're going to be reactive to other people. So the higher the self-esteem and the higher the belief in your abilities, the more people will be reactive to you. However, there's certain environments where it's unnecessary to be in because it requires you to have too much willpower and too much defense mechanism and all these things which might tire you out to maintain that frame. Make it easier on yourself and go to environments that facilitate riches, that have people in those environments that are achieving the same thing that you want, that have the same desires. You'll create what is called the mastermind alliance. Napoleon Hill talks about this. The vibrations set up by others affect us much more than we realize, for we take on the characteristics of those with whom we associate more or less constantly. Like I said, unless you've got massive amounts of confidence, you'll probably take on the characteristics of people that don't think like you, because it's human nature to do so. And thus, it's easier on yourself and your resources to place yourself in environments where those have characteristics that you actually welcome to incorporate in yourself. If you want to be around great communicators, or if you want to improve your communication skills, surround yourself by great communicators. You'll find that you're open and accepting of their characteristics. You'll incorporate it. Now, if you're trying to achieve a high level of success, but in business, for example, but you're surrounding yourself with people who are not in business or have a disdain for business, then those characteristics you'll feel it. You'll feel it energetically. You know you shouldn't be in the right place. To better understand the effect of the suggestive vibrations, you need to only remember your varying feelings upon entering different offices or homes. So this is the cool thing about working with the subconscious mind, is that what happens is that when you're clear on what you want, your subconscious mind then uses some of its faculties like intuition to let you know if you're in the right place. And using that as a guide will help you determine whether you're in the right place or not. And you'll get it through negative feelings. You'll feel negative vibes if you shouldn't be around certain people. It doesn't mean they're negative people. It just means that you shouldn't be there. Okay? You'll feel positive, uplifted if you're around the right people. And this is the fun part about this, because you get to work with it and you get to learn it and you get to navigate reality like most people don't. Most people don't. They experience this, but they disregard it. The very way you walk, the very way you carry yourself, your talk, your manner of dress, all reflect your way of thinking. Okay, so this is important. You can observe yourself and see where you have your doubts, where you have your weak belief systems. Your thoughts are creating your body language and tonality. We project it a certain way. And you can recognize through the fluctuations and the nuances where you have your doubts, where you have your disbeliefs, where you're not being congruent. And you can get better and better at making improvements. I cannot emphasize too strongly that you should tell no one just what the words on the card mean. Again, we're talking about the auto-suggestion card. Nor give anyone an inkling of what you desire. To do so may end disastrously for you. When you get a better understanding of this science, you can understand how thought vibrations, conscious or unconscious, because of envy or some other cause, can be set up to counteract your own. So, remember, everybody is persuading you all the time. And this is not something to be paranoid about. This is just how it works. And a lot of times people are not aware that they're doing it. Thus, if you have a goal and it's a desire, and a very polarizing desire that's a high level compared to a lot of people, if you start communicating it, they're going to project their reality into it. And, they might come from a good place, they might not. It doesn't really matter. But whatever they put into that, however they communicate about that, if you don't have a high level of self-confidence, it's going to influence you. I remember when I first started in business, I would tell certain people about how I was going to do certain things in business, and they would project their opinion in there, and I would feel weird afterwards. After they would tell me their opinion, I would feel disempowered. And I recognized that later on, it's just better not to tell anyone, because what we're really looking for is the result. We're not looking to tell people. And our subconscious mind has a lot of power, has all the power we could ever need to create that reality that we want. So all we got to do is just affirm it to ourselves and follow this process, and then trust our subconscious mind is going to guide us to the right people. And we're going to feel whether we can tell those people or not. So now I can feel before I tell someone if I can tell them or not. Because some people I can tell and they'll uplift and add to it. And some people, they're not in that reality. They don't understand how it works. So they're going to project their own reality of how they think it works. And they might be actually very persuasive. And some people are so adamant on their disempowering belief systems, are very persuasive at telling you why it can't work. And they can influence even the most self-confident people. However, you'll feel it. Prior to opening your mouth, you'll feel it. You'll say, oh, you know what? I don't think I should tell this person. And that's an aspect of your subconscious. So let's talk about how to draw upon the resources and powers of the subconscious mind and awaken it into action. We already talked about different ways of programming the subconscious mind. Let's continue this discussion. In conveying your need to the subconscious, it must be in images of the work having already been done. Thus, while it is necessary for you to feel and think yourself successfully, it is important to go one step further and actually see yourself as already successful, either in the performance of some selected task or actually occupying the position which you aspire. You must also patiently wait while the subconscious assimilates the elements of your problem and then goes about its own way to work it out for you. You must have patience and absolute faith, for as Theodore Simon Geoffroy, the French philosopher, said, the subconscious mind will not take the trouble to work for those who do not believe it. So let's talk about these 2 points here. Mental images or visualization is another important element in programming the subconscious mind. So we talked about repetition and using the mirroring technique. And mirroring techniques is actually a real form of visualizing, because you're visualizing yourself communicating a certain way. So that's part of it. And then also visualizing the goal that you want to achieve and actually seeing yourself doing it and then stepping into it some shape or some form. What we do is we think that when we get to a certain result, then we're going to be successful. And Earl Nightingale talks about this in The Strangest Secret. Success is the progressive realization of the worthy ideal. So in other words, when you start chasing your worthy ideal, when you start working towards your worthy ideal, you are a success. And at that point, you must see yourself as successful. You might even have to step into buying certain things or dressing a certain way that you can do right now to step into that role, to really own that role of success. This could mean right away changing your living circumstances, right away changing the kind of environments that you associate and hang around with. Things you could do right now. Don't wait till you get there. We want the subconscious mind to mirror what it believes to be reality. That's the power of it. That's one way of doing it. Another way, which is important to combine both, is using mental images of picturing yourself doing the things you will be doing when you achieve the goal. Perhaps the most effective method for bringing the subconscious mind into practical play is through making mental pictures. Use your imagination to perfect an image of the thing or situation as you would like it to exist in physical form. This is usually referred to as a visualization. One of the things that I did for a long time that really helped me was I would sit down and I would write my perfect day. And I would do this every day. I would write the visualization of what my perfect day would look like. And I would describe it, what the things I would do from morning till night. And my perfect day include, me having a certain results and how I would essentially do things every day. And every day I would write my perfect day in 1 or 2 pages. And that exercise caused me to stimulated more visualization. And I found myself, as I was doing that, drawing the parallel to actually create that reality. I would find myself motivated, hunches and inspirations would come. Essentially, that was a great way to tap into the subconscious mind. It is pretty well agreed that the subconscious mind works as a result of images thrown upon its screen. But if there's something wrong with your projections apparatus or the original slide, then the projected image is blurred, inverted, or totally blank. Doubts, fears, counter thoughts all manage to blur the pictures you consciously desire or project. One of the things that I like to do is whenever I set a goal, I observe to see if there's any doubts of me achieving that goal. Because I recognize that by focusing on that desire or that goal and then having doubts, I'm impressing the goal plus doubts into my subconscious mind. And I'm essentially telling my subconscious mind that I'm not going to get that goal. I want it, but I'm not going to get it. So create in my life scenarios where I chase the goal but don't get it. And when the doubts show up, what I do is I look for ways and I try to trace back the roots of where the doubts came from, either my past or certain things that I'm doing that further validate those doubts. And I systematically go to remove those doubts and fears through repetition, through exercises, through taking action until they're eventually gone. It is very important to remember that the subconscious will go into action at once under the impetus of the commands or suggestion it receives from the conscious mind, but it gets results quicker if the conscious mind accompanies its message with a mental picture of the desired goal. It may be faint, sketchy, or even unfinished, but even if only an outline, it will be enough for the subconscious to act upon. Subconscious mind responds to emotions, and visual imagery creates certain emotions associated with. When we imagine ourselves driving the car or doing the thing, we impress in the subconscious mind the emotions associated with it, and our subconscious mind goes to create more of those emotions, essentially brings the parallel to mirror those emotions. In due course, with the flowing of the ideas and plans of the subconscious into your waiting conscious mind, the solution of your problem will be revealed to you and the correct course of action indicated. You must receive the message from your subconscious freely, and after understanding it, you must act at once, immediately, and unquestionably. Action creates more faith, it creates more belief. You wouldn't have taken action unless you had faith, or you believe that there's possibility in it. When you get the inspiration from your subconscious, act upon it. What you're doing is you're increasing that channel between the subconscious and the conscious. The subconscious mind understands that you've taken action upon it and then is further calibrating to give you more inspirations. You might not get the result of the first action you take, but you must trust the process that the subconscious mind knows the way to help you create it. There must be no hesitation on your part, no mental reservation, no deliberation. Only by prompt and automatic response will you make your subconscious continue to respond whenever you call upon it. So you actually train this connection to the subconscious mind. Now, this actually sums up this whole book, you could say, because actions is proof that you believe. And we're talking about the magic of believing here. And the subconscious mind is very magical by nature. It's very misunderstood. There's not a lot of information we have on it. Humans don't really understand the extent and the power of the subconscious mind, and maybe one day never will, because there's probably so many layers to it. However, we can tap into it, we can work with it, and we have it at our ability right now to do so. So, how do we tap into it? We tap into it by having belief, by having faith in the abilities of our subconscious mind. And we prove that belief by taking action on the hunches we get from our subconscious mind. Your problem may be one that cannot be solved in this manner. Instead of receiving the solution in the form of a blueprint to guide your steps to final fulfillment, at intervals you may feel some mysterious force urging you to do certain things that may seem to have no special significance or logical connection. Nevertheless, you must continue to believe in the power and wisdom of the subconscious, obediently performing the seemingly irrelevant things. And one day you will find yourself in the position you sought, doing the work you envisioned for yourself. Then when you look back, you will see how things you were called upon to do through the aid of your subconscious all formed a logical line of events, the last one of which being your final arriving, the reward of your sincerest hopes and desires, your own triumphant personal success. And Steve Jobs said it best in his commencement speech, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them backwards. A large part of working with the subconscious mind is believing, is having faith, is trusting that gut feeling. And if you've got clarity on your thoughts and you know exactly what you want, and you program your subconscious mind with that desire using the mirror techniques and the other techniques outlined in this book, and trust that the hunches and inspirations, as irrational as they may seem, are guiding you towards the direction, and you'll know it. You'll know if it's a genuine hunch, a genuine inspiration. And the more you learn to be in tune to it and act upon it, the clearer they get. You will start to create the results you want. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want a copy of the mind map, link is in the bottom of the description. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.